Alright, and now we are going to enter another element for our break part here. You can use vocals, for example, or record an instrument. We are going to use another instrument. I'm creating a MIDI track below lead 10 and insert MIDI track here, but we are going to color it maybe a bit softer or even softer. I'm picking up course files ABS pipe C2. We're using this one and we're dragging it onto the MIDI track, creating a simpler device. And now what I want to do is play an arpeggio with this sound. Sometimes if you want to play an arpeggio, there's quite an easy way of generating ideas for an arpeggio. If you have a pad sound or a chord already set up, you can actually take this one, copy it down on your new sound. It's very low right now. I'm bringing down the level a little bit as well. And what you can do to generate ideas, you can use a MIDI effect, arpeggiator, this one, and just drag it in front of the instrument. And now we are a bit low, so I'm also taking another MIDI effect, the pitch, and bringing it up an octave. And now you could mess around with this arpeggiator, tell it to play at a different rate, for example, at 16th notes, and take the gate down to shorten the notes. So very interesting for generating ideas. And then if you want to go on using such an idea, what you can do is you can record the result of this arpeggiator onto a new MIDI clip. How do you do that? Right click on this one, insert new MIDI track, and now we are going to record what's happening here onto this track. So I'm arming this one. I'm actually putting back my input-output information here. I'm going to tell this one to be an input. And let's move to bar 49. And also we are going to select input, not all ins, but 11 ABS pipes. So we are using this track as an input for this one. We are going to record what's going to happen to create a new MIDI clip. So this is the result of the arpeggiator should show up down here. Let's try and see what happens. Nice. So now we have a new MIDI clip down here. And we can go on and edit our note information if we want. So this is pretty cool. We could now drag this over here onto this track, get rid of the arpeggiator by just deleting it, and then go on working like this. Okay, but in this case we're going to work with different MIDI information. Going back to our course files and going to MIDI, we can pick up MIDI ARP, so the MIDI information for our arpeggio, and it will ask you import tempo and time signature data, and to able to know we want to follow this tempo and time signature of our project. This should be mandatory for what happens in the clip, so I'm selecting no. And now I can drag this over here and delete the other clip. I'm also going to delete this track. We don't need that one anymore. And let's listen in. Okay, so we are definitely too low here. Pitching it up an octave. So now you might be thinking, well, this sounds a bit weird, and I agree. So let's pick up some audio effects and manipulate the sound. I'm cutting off some low end with an equalizer. Okay, and I also want to add in a little bit of room with a reverb. Alright, so drive it down to 21 here, and let's play around with our decay time. We're giving a bit more space here. And add in a simple delay. Bit more feedback. So how long is our output of this delay, and drive it down. And we're going to play around with the timing here. Let's put 1 on the left side and 6 to the right side. And try 2. That way we are accumulating more notes. A setting I usually like is, I think, 3 to 6 or something. Or 3 to 4 also works, but let's go with 1 to 2 here. Maybe cut off a bit more in the low frequencies. Now we want to also add in a filter because we want to bring this up over time. Something like that. And let's also try an auto pan effect. So we're moving our sound from the left to the right ear and back. I'm going to put this one in front of the reverb, set the amount up. So far out to the left ear, far out to the right, and rate down a little bit. And we can also change the shape here. That would mean stay a lot longer on the left side, just in the last moment, right away, move over quickly to the right side. If you have the shape down, we are staying a bit more in the middle. And we have it up all the way, we are basically going from left to right, from left to right. Okay, and now we are going to automate the frequency of our filter over time. We want to start very low down. Or maybe here, around 700 Hertz. Actually, let's take a look at our arrangement again. What I just did is happening between 8 bars. Actually, I want to do this in the whole 16 bars. So let's start around 700 and then end up around 1.3 in the middle. I need to have a breakpoint here. So 1.3 somewhere here, and then gradually go up until we are reaching our top here at the end. Okay, and also I had the feeling our EQ was a bit too high up now, so we're going to bring it back down. And actually, if our EQ is a bit further down, then we can also start with our filter a bit lower, because we are leaving some of those frequencies here and we can actually cut them off nicely from the top. So Okay, and I'm going to take it down in the overall gain. It should be more like a feeling, not an outstanding element. And you can also see we are running a little bit against our usual grid here because we are playing sort of triplets here. And notice if you right click into your piano roll, you can also tell your piano roll to end up showing a triplet grid. And it's not a perfect triplet here. As you can see here with G#2, it's still a bit more swingy in this area. These are on a triplet grid, and the first one obviously as well. You can set triplet grids and go back to your usual quarter notes. Okay, so you could also think of letting it play here. But then of course you would have to put in another sidechain compressor to make sure you're not hitting on top of the kick. You would use the audio input from the kick here. And also one more addition, if you want to have this little sidechain effect already here in the break part, and you're taking the audio from the kick, which is obviously not playing, what we can do is quickly, if we want to have this sort of sidechaining effect on our arpeggio, we can make a copy of our kick. We can duplicate the kick track, then call this one sidechain, turn it off, we're not playing it, and we are going to rename this one to sidechain as well. And I'm just going to drag it along now over the entire track here. So we always use this one as a trigger also when playing break parts, but we still want that sidechain effect. And I'm going to color it differently. I'm going to make this one gray. And now we can sidechain our arpeggio also in our break part. It sounds a bit more interesting that way. I can bring it up a bit more. Okay, and in this case I don't think I will play it here in the main part, I will just use it for the break part. I'm bringing it back down to -12. So now we have an extra separate sidechain track here next to our kick. And this is actually a question I've been getting a lot. Why would you take an extra sidechain track if you can simply sidechain to your kick? Well, it's really for this little creative elements here in break parts, for example. We could also think of our pad now, and this one takes the audio from the sidechain. So if you don't want this pad to be ducking in the break part, you could take the audio from the kick. But now with those two channels we have the possibility to decide, do we want to have a ducking in our break part? Or do we want to play it without ducking in the break part? Selecting this one here actually, I was selecting the bass. So audio from sidechain, then we just take the audio from the kick. And now it will play without ducking in the break part. maybe for the pad sound, this is a nicer setting for our break. So this is generally the reason for using a sidechain and a kick track. Alright, so moving on to the next step.